Guitar Collector Guy presents Fender Squier. What do you get for $169? So for $169, you get a poplar body. The body finish and the paint job is actually pretty good. It has a gloss finish to it. It calls the neck basically a C standard neck, that it's made out of maple. Bolt-on, scale length of 25.5, has a truss rod. The fretboard is made out of Indian laurel, which is, I guess, a more readily accessible fretboard wood these days than, like rosewood and others, and is less expensive. The fretboard on this guitar is probably the driest I've ever seen a guitar, so as soon as I get the strings off of it, I'm definitely going to condition it. Number of frets, 21. It says fret size medium jumbo. They do not look like medium jumbos to me, but the nut width is 42 millimeters or 1.65 inches. I am sure it's plastic. It says not specified for material. Comes with two Squier brand single coil pickups, has electronics, and it has a master volume and a tone. I show here a photo of the side of the bridge. I've never seen a guitar come from the factory flat like this without some effort put into intonation and string height. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and notify. So out of the box, before this thing is really playable, you really do need to do a setup on this thing. The last thing specification wise is this has a 9.5 inch radius neck fretboard. One thing that I noticed after I bought it that I didn't notice when I purchased it was that it has a top load bridge. There are not holes with string ferrules that go through the body like a normal Telecaster. And I've done a lot of research because I've got a lot of ideas for modifications and things that I'd like to do to this. And one of them, I don't think I'm going to do it, anything related to the bridge. Actually, the bridge is actually, although it's top loaded and a lot of people like that, I'm just not used to it because it's kind of a little bit of a pain to feed strings through. You just have to bend the ends of the strings, and I guess once you get used to it. And it also puts a completely different angle and tension on the strings. This guitar does have 6 saddles, which to me would mean that setting string height and setting intonation is probably a pretty easy thing to do, and you can get pretty accurate with it. The fretboard really absorbed the oil, and it was really, really dry. It's kind of a pretty fretboard. It's something that looks sort of like rosewood. At first, I thought that it was like maybe a wood that had been dyed. So it was dark, so it would simulate rosewood. It doesn't, I guess, appear after doing research that that's the case. I wanted to open this thing up and look at the pickups and the electronics on it to see, the quality of, the manufactured units that were in these. And the pickguard's the same, as a normal Telecaster and so on. What I did find was the magnets and the actual pickups were actually very small behind the scenes. On the surface, on the outside of the guitar, they look normal, but they're not the same as, let's say, a Mexican-made or American-made Stratocaster. Also, too, in the routed parts of the guitar, they did not remove any of like the sanded material, like sawdust and things like that before they painted. They literally just painted over the top of it. They didn't, like blow it off or anything like that. It was kind of funny to see that. And then the pots are little tiny pots, electronics. I'm going to do research to figure out what K these are. One of the things that I do want to do to this guitar is I've got a set of Fender American Yosemite pickups that I want to put into it, and then I want to build a standard American Stratocaster or Telecaster wiring harness for it. And then the tuners on this thing, I think they're adequate. I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on to see how they hold, tuning stability and whether or not they're easy to tune, smooth and so on. I may end up putting a set of the just the factory American standard tuners on it as well. But I wanted to see what the guitar sounds like right out of the box, and then do a comparison in a second video of after I do modifications to it to see, did it really actually improve the quality of the sound that comes out of it, by changing out the pickups and so on. Several observations. I expected it to be really noisy when I plugged it into an amp, with the tone and the volume adjusted all the way up. It's not. There's not a lot of 60 cycle hum. I was surprised how quiet it was. Also, was really, really surprised to see just kind of the quality of the sound that comes out of it, particularly the bridge pickup. I really like the bridge pickup on this guitar. It's definitely got some oomph to it, some volume, and it's there. The neck pickup is cool. It's adequate. I wouldn't say it's the worst pickup that I've ever had in a Tele or a guitar. And the volume and the tone knobs and everything, the 3-position switch, all function like a normal Fender Telecaster. The 3-position switch, in the forward position is neck pickup only. In the middle, it's both. All the way back, it's the bridge. The only thing, as you can see on the screen right here that I found that was a little bit of a challenge was, and it's just for me, I've only had one other top-loading Telecaster, and it's just kind of a challenge. You have to bend the strings a little bit, slide them in, watch sideways, and then hook it up where it comes through the saddle and over. And, it takes me a little bit longer to do than a normal 6-saddle Telecaster or a 3-saddle Telecaster to do, but it's, doable. I found that once I got the strings on, the tuners actually were fine. They're adequate. I still would upgrade them. Nothing fancy, but it just, something a little better. There is a lot of play to them. They move around a lot and so on. But they seem to, I played actually quite a bit on the guitar, and I found that the guitar held tune actually really well. I rarely, there were only like 2 strings, to be honest with you, that I constantly had. They would go somewhat flat, and I'd have to tune it up a little bit. The other strings were actually spot on and stayed that way no matter how much I played on it. It's a great little banger guitar. It's something that, to me, bar chords and distortion and stuff like that, it's really perfect for that. And at the price of it, my God, $169, you really can't get much lower than that. And it does carry kind of the Fender, name brand, and it's familiar to all of us that are familiar to playing Fenders and so on. And, it's a great platform to do modifications to. It's not like you're, ruining something historical and, it's going to lose value. It's not. Actually, anything that you do to this guitar by upgrades is probably going to increase the value of the guitar. I've got kind of a cool pickguard that I'm going to put on it that is a black pickguard that I got from stratosphere.com of sugar skulls, kind of like the tattoo on my right arm. And, and like I said, I'm going to upgrade the pickups and the wiring and the tuners in it. And that'll be another video. And that'll do a comparison in the audio. When I measured the neck relief with the truss rod, or on the truss rod, I was kind of hoping, to be honest with you, that I'd have to do an adjustment on it. But it was the one thing on the guitar that I didn't need to adjust and was pretty spot on. So kind of from just memory of how many guitars that I've set up over the years, I just kind of jumped ahead without taking any measurements and did by eye set intonation and on the saddles, as well as string height for what I thought a 9.5 radius neck would be. And then I tuned the guitar up and set about taking measurements and then doing final adjustments. Overall, I would rate the guitar as a great playable little guitar that's very serviceable. I would say that if you're looking to get something for someone as an entry-level guitar where they're just learning how to play, you really can't go wrong with this guitar, especially at the price point. They're going to be happy with it. They're going to get something that looks like the more expensive versions of the guitar and plays like, and to be honest with you, sounds like. And later on, if they get into the hobby of, doing modifications, modding out guitars and stuff, this is a really great budget way of doing that. And it's also, too, I look at it as an opportunity where there's some things that I want to learn how to do better, and that's doing, like fretwork and things like that for up and coming videos. And this guitar, although the frets are serviceable, they're definitely not smooth and could be smoothed and leveled and cleaned up. And that's something that I would feel completely cool about doing on a guitar like this until I get better at it and I learn kind of the ups and downs of how to do it properly before doing it on a guitar that cost, let's say $1,500 to $2,000. I don't really have anything bad to say about the guitar at all. I mean, it's actually especially for the price point, $169, you really can't go wrong. So I would gladly and happily play this guitar as I did my first Squier that I got probably about 30 years ago and played actually in bands with and stuff like that. It was a black Stratocaster, and I loved that guitar and had it for years, and I did all kinds of crazy things to it wiring wise and so on until I then bought Mexican and Japanese guitars, and then later as I was making more money as an adult, I could afford to buy use like American made Strats and Teles and so on. And, so it is, it's a good little guitar. So I would recommend it to folks, and, just know that when you get it out of the box, it's not going to be completely playable. You're going to be really, really high action. You're going to have to do a setup on it or have somebody do a setup for you. Ironically, if you have someone do the setup, it's going to cost about not as much as the guitar did, but about at least half or more. And so on. It would be nice if they did do a little bit of setup. Also too, the strings, I'm assuming were 9s, but I got to tell you that high E string, it was the finest and smallest guitar string gauge-wise that I've ever seen before. It was like having like a little strand of hair or something stretched on the guitar. It was not like any 9 that I've seen on a Fender before in all the years I've been, playing around with guitars with. So to wrap up, I play a simple, just little chord progression tune, 3 different ways clean, and then 3 different ways distorted, so you can get a general idea of what the guitar sounds like without me getting in trouble for copyright on YouTube. And so please listen, and just listen for basically not my playing, but what the pickups sound like and what the audio sounds like. It was coming out of a Fender Blues Junior 4. The distortion pedal I was using was a Boss Distortion DS1. And, enjoy, just like I did. Thanks. Thank you for watching Guitar Collector Guy. Really appreciate you being here. Hope you come back and watch more. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and notify.